something I want to point out. There's a relationship between time and price that Gann wrote about, and it's a fairly simple concept. And in Gann's work, 1 unit of time equals 1 unit of price. So if something were to move up $180, then it should also move up $180 in 180 days. Okay, so a square of time and price would be $180 in 180 days. The squaring, it's going to be very, very dependent on the analyst and the trader or the trader constructing a square that is accurate and then referencing it. But so I did a little plotting yesterday and a little looking and investigating. I want to point something out. So 144 degrees and 144 days, extremely important level in Gann's work. Number 144 is a pretty important number in nature as well. In the square of 9, it's very important. 1 plus 4 plus 4 equals 9. So it's just any sets of numbers that equal the number 9. That's something to pay attention to. But for whatever reason, 144 is always a number that seems to be really important. So I want to look at the all-time high, and I don't remember if we did this yesterday or not. Maybe not. But the all-time high for Bitcoin was at, using Coinbase's data, was at 1,998. And if I look at that and I see, okay, 19,898, how you apply this on a square. So you can find the square of 9 online. There's a couple places that allow you to download the Excel version of this. Now, obviously, this version is way more user-friendly, but you can get a square of 9 in Excel. I think you could just Google it, and there's a couple places that have files for this. But if you want to be able to forecast long-term or forecast intraday, this is the tool to do it on. So how we find the numbers on a square of 9, because there's a couple ways, and I've never read anywhere that has been the absolute, this is the way to do it, but numbers that break away from the standard square of 9 that Gann made, which ends at 441, 4 plus 4 plus 1, 144 reversed, blah, 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 4 plus 4 plus 1 equals 9. Any chart that has a number value that cannot be put on here, you do a square root. So if I'm looking at a currency pair, if I'm looking at the Canadian dollar and it's trading at $1.24, I can use the number 124. But for cryptocurrencies, it's a little different. So, I could plot out 30 rings and, talk about a headache, try and find that. But it gets a little ridiculous after a while. That's why the square roots are more effective here. So I look for the square root of 19,898. Square root of that is 141. Round it down to 141, and that is right over here. Pretty close to 144 actually. And then what's really nice is it's nice to look at degrees from price according to where an important zone is. So 141, square root of that, 19,898. I want to know what are some price levels from that. So I could get the squared ranges from it. I could get the squared values, numbers that are trine to it. So in 120 degrees, and sextile 60 degrees. But 144 days or angles is fine. 144 from 141 brings us over to one of these over here. And the number we're looking at is 76. 76. Okay, just keep your heads around this. 141 equals 19,898. That is the yearly high. Okay? Yearly high, 141. 144 degrees from this, we go to 76. What is 76 squared? 5,776. That is $2 above the all-time low for the year. The low is back here. 5,000 or somewhere around here. Right there. Depending on your data. It was in June. What did I write down? June 28th. Okay, looking at Coinbase's data, this was the low. Or Bitstamp's data, I think I was looking at. Yeah, Bitstamp. Bitstamp's data, 5,780. I was looking at something. It was $2 above. Okay, from the all-time high to the yearly low, 144 degrees. That is the price level. That's important. That's a significant thing. Then we look at the date. January 6th. And that was the date of the all-time high. So just going to move the square of 9 to January 6th. There it is. And 144 days from January 6th. Sorry, 180 days. July 8th. Which is pretty close to that low we found in June. The end of June. And then about a week later, we had that 180 degree relationship. That's pretty crazy. Those things work out pretty nicely. Which basically means like from our all-time high to where we found our yearly low, it was 180 days. 2 90-day Gann cycles, 4 45-day cycles, however you want to look at it. So what I did is I plotted out for the rest of the year the extremes. If we look at Bitcoin from the so we know that Bitcoin has a cyclical expansion season between September and December, and we know that Bitcoin has frequent and exponential moves. And we know that traders, investors, and speculators, every year there's been a bull run, everybody says it can't go higher. But it has, and it does. And it if we were to measure expansion phases as a percentage, they're pretty massive. Is there a point when it scales down? I don't know, maybe. But from the lows of January 2017, that was a 2,398% move. It's probably the biggest one that Bitcoin's had. And then if we look at December of 2016 to December of 2016. That high to the low of 2016. Maybe I should turn it around. A 223.83% move from $352 to $1,139. We see this repeated over and over, with the exception of, I think, 2014. We've had an exponential drive in Bitcoin's value near the end of the year. And there's nothing saying that won't happen again. This is the 10-year anniversary. Believe it or not, Bitcoin is 10 years old. Depending when that birth date is, we talked about that yesterday. It could be of importance, but we'll see.